My dad said that if eating is a joy of life and cooking is a labor of love, if you can marry those two, you have success.
Wow. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Hurrdat Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and there are some restaurants that just stand the test of time. They've become such an ingrained part of the community that it feels like it almost couldn't survive without them. And when you have a restaurant that's been thrilling customers with perfectly cooked breakfast for 55 years, Hurrdat's Coffee House certainly qualifies. And here to tell me all about that beloved restaurant today, we've got multiple generations of the coffee house community. Matt Swoboda, Tom Halstead, and Matt Bohnenkamp. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun.
All right.
Super excited.
Right off the bat, because we have multiple voices and multiple personalities here, I would love for each of you to introduce yourselves and maybe just give a quick description of where you belong, I guess, in the Hurrdat's Coffee House lineage. Matt, we'll start with you.
My name is Matt Swoboda. I started at Coffee House about 10 years ago, and when I started at the Coffee House, I was not a restaurant person. I barely knew my left from my right. And these two guys right here are the ones that taught me to put my head down and work hard. And I have worked my way around Omaha and worked my way up to finally being able to manage this wonderful spot. And it's an honor. It's a privilege.
My name is Tom Halstead. My dad was the original Herald, and I started working at the coffee house when I was 11 years old. Went into service in 67, got out in 69, and operated it with Matt's mother, my sister Nancy, until about 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, something like that. Wow. I've been retired for at least 10 years, I think, but it's part of the family, and I don't know, just my dad said that if eating is a joy of life and cooking is a labor of love, if you can marry those two, you have success.
Wow. I need that on a t-shirt. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Grandpa Harold had a lot like that. He just a lot of good statements. My name is Matt Bohnenkamp. So I grew up in the restaurant, kind of like Tom, except a little different. So I got to work with brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. Then went to college and got a career, and then came back and ran the restaurant for 12, 13 years until we sold it. And now Matt's the new GM. So,
Okay, great introduction. I think, Tom, you started getting into him a little bit, but we can't really start this discussion without talking about the original Herald himself. I mean, it's his name that's up on the sign. It's his legacy that continues to live on through the restaurant and has touched all you guys' lives in a major way. Your Our Story tab on the website tells his story very, very well, but for people listening here, just kind of, who was Harold and how did he create this thing?
Mm-hmm.
I love how both you guys immediately looked to Tom. You're like,
That's how Tom.
there's a historian right there.
That's why we brought him. Yeah.
My dad was a very likable person, and restaurant business it's been an example is a dairy farm. You have to be there in the morning, you have to be there in the evening, and you got to know how things are going. But the most important component in that is your employees. And labor is a difficult thing, but we've had people working for us for 20, 22 years, 18 years, older. They stay with us, and that's because you try to treat them right. Of course, you have to call out. We've had so many entry-level people over the 60 years or so, and some folks, believe it or not, don't even know how to sweep the floor when they come in. They really don't. But you can spot the ones that are interested in learning and who want to, grow in it. And you do have to be someone who wants to please people. You do. Mm-hmm. And it's got its own reward in that, when you see people eating their food and they stop talking because the food's good.
That's the best.
And then they're complimentary to boot. But we've been blessed with a lot of folks that wanted to work, and then they found out it was rewarding, and they become kind of hooked in it, And a lot of our waitresses and stuff, we had, obviously, over the years, we've had people that some actually ate 3 meals a day. And these young ladies, typically, that were waitresses, they knew what they wanted before they got in. You see them coming in the door, they knew what they wanted, and they were right there with it. And of course, courteous. And so, I don't know. But my dad was, he said, people will work with you a lot better than they will work for you. And so if you're in the kitchen or out front, you understand the anxiety. We used to, mostly what we had was working people. So they had a certain amount of time to get in, get their food, and process, And so there's kind of an anxiety there in the kitchen and out front.
There's a pressure for sure.
Yeah.
That, most restaurants, you sit down, food maybe takes, 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how busy it is. For us, if we're not getting that food out in 10 minutes, that's not good enough for us. We want people to be able to come in and not just eat their food, but eat their food and enjoy themselves too. And that's, I think, what makes us different than a lot of other places.
Yeah, like fine dining, you want folks to come in and sit down, drink something, drink some more, make them wait a little bit because they're enjoying themselves. But for your average worker type, they got to get in and get out. And if you can amplify that, then it makes them feel more comfortable with it. So
definitely.
Matt, just you've got a couple of blog posts on the restaurant's website, and just reading through those, I feel like I couldn't get through 1 or 2 sentences without some mention of Aunt so-and-so or my mom or cousin Janice or, my sister, my brother. I mean, this family is just all over the restaurant. And I know things have changed a little bit as ownership has changed now and everything, but especially growing up and when you took ownership, like family, it wasn't just like it was ingrained in Harold's Coffee House. Like, what was that like growing up? I mean, was it like an expectation that if you were in this family, you were going to work in the restaurant at some point, or did that just kind of happen? However you want to take that, what was that like to be around family so much?
Yeah, you start off maybe 11, maybe 10, and you just want to be able to do dishes. You want to be able to spray dishes.
It's indentured servitude.
It was, we just saw it happening around us all the time, so it was just natural to go do that. Now, some of the cousins didn't take to it quite as much or just didn't find an affinity to it, but I did. My sisters and brother did, so we stuck with it pretty good. And working with your cousins and aunts and uncles, and we just had a ball. Or funny. Well, Grandpa's personality was funny. Right. It resonates. He just always had a joke. And so he also accumulated people around him that were his personality too, right, which just made everywhere kind of fun. And so the work was work, but it was fun. It was an adventure. So, yeah, you start off as a dishwasher, and, man, you just want to be able to go cook. You just want to see what them cooks are doing, all them big cooks over there. Finally, you graduate to that. I had to wait tables a couple times, and no, sir. I did not
for you?
Appreciate that. Nope.
More of a back-of-house type of guy.
Yep. So my cousin and his son, and we would all be in the back, and our sisters and cousins would be out front, and we all rib each other and do colossal, hilarious pranks on each other.
Yeah.
And we got to eat food all the time. I had no idea I was that blessed until I think literally I went to college and saw other people that just and learned, like, nobody's got a family like this. Mm-mm. Nobody looks forward to their family like this. So
it's true.
Yeah. That was a big eye-opener, I guess, for me.
Before we go any further, just in case anyone's listening to this or watching this and they're just like, well, this place sounds awesome. I want to come experience this. You guys are located, Harold's Coffee House, located off 30th and State Street. Excuse me, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
In Florence. Getting back to the story, Matt, you obviously are not blood related, but you said you started working at Harold's about 10 years ago. Now you're back in a leadership role.
I am.
How did you start, and what was it like for you to get in there and kind of see what that dynamic was like?
So it was really interesting. I've been around at a few restaurants and just didn't really find that place. Everyone tries to find a place where they kind of feel like they fit in and whatnot. And I had been to other restaurants and didn't really have that experience. And I had the opportunity to know one of the servers who worked at Harold's, and they said, well, they're looking for a cook. Would you like to come and apply here? And I said, well, I'll give it a shot.
Her name is Heather. She's been there for 25 years?
My.
25, at least.
Heather's awesome.
Heather's amazing. All of our employees are amazing. And so got the opportunity to interview. Matt hired me, and I was not very good. I was very messy. I didn't really have a whole lot of technique, but they stuck with me. They saw something in me that I didn't see in myself until very recently, actually.
We slang hash together on the grill fast.
We did.
And then you went out front and waited tables.
And then I started waiting tables.
I think that's when you're like, I'm digging this.
And so I started waiting tables, and I started doing both during the week. And then, the restaurant made sense. The flow between the back and the front really kind of started to make sense to me, and I started getting a lot better. And, they kept believing in me, and I didn't really, I didn't have that opportunity at a lot of other workplaces that I had, so it was really nice, having people believe in me that I can do better, and I started to do better, and I took that belief and went to other restaurants around Omaha and continued to work hard, and I found myself coming back to Harold's every time for that piece, because it's the only place where I found it.
You'd pop in.
I would always come back
all the time
when I was frustrated, and I would always find my peace at Harold's. So when I heard they were under new ownership and they were looking for some help, I thought I'd come back and see if I could offer some help, and here we are. And I'm so happy to be in this position and continue to make Harold's how great it's been.
And we're definitely – oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just going to mention when Matt started with us, I was still trying to build the business again. We had a lot of old equipment and stuff, and so
oh my gosh, yes,
any money that was made kind of just went back to, we need a 6-burner, we need a bigger flat top. And then I had to we were still writing paper checks.
That's right.
So one thing that happened when we got the toast system, actually before that was micro, so it was even more antiquated, I found out that I made 180 donuts one Saturday and we only sold 40. A lot of complimentary donuts going out. That was a big learning curve. Nobody had ever worked on a POS system or anything. That was hard.
It was all written and handed in, and then you had to be able to read it.
I've seen those servers' handwriting. I'm going to call out Pam specifically.
Pamoglyphics.
I'm going to call Pamoglyphics for sure. So Pam is a server. How long has Pam worked there, Tom?
40 years.
40 years at least Pam has been there. And Pam runs around like she's got her head cut off, but she always seems to know what she's doing. Even though she can't hear anything anymore, she still seems to know what she's doing. I love her to death. She's amazing. You got to come in and have a Pam experience for sure.
Okay. I need to come see Pam.
Yeah.
But I think what we just got into right there is an interesting dynamic that I'm fascinated to talk to you guys about, and that's kind of the tightrope of taking a restaurant that is beloved for so many reasons, and it has so much history, so many things that people don't want to change, but there are certain things that do need to be updated. You can't be writing hand tickets, into the 2020s. Like, that needed to be updated. Does the menu need to be updated? Does the seating arrangement need to be updated? Does the kitchen alignment need to be updated? As you guys are thinking about where does Harold's, obviously Harold's has been, just an institution for so long. There are certain things we can't change. These are our bedrocks. But then there are some things that do have to change as well in 2024, 2025 and beyond. How do you make those decisions and decide these are things that cannot change versus things that we do need to adjust?
Matthew was the innovator, and he's media-minded. See, I have no understanding of media and how to advertise with that or anything. And he really did pick it up, and he went into the POS and all of that. I'm a dinosaur. Mostly we know how to get up in the morning and go to work. And he found a way to make things work for him. And this guy's an innovator, too. And that's a part of that.
I think there's just some aspects you don't change. Like, obviously, you don't ever change the hash browns. We're known for our hash browns. There's certain things that you cannot change because that's what you're known for. But obviously, the restaurant industry is always evolving, and so you have to evolve in some way with it. Just like, for instance, on the weekends we're going to start having a little bit more fun with specials, just because I think people are looking for a little bit more fun with their food when it comes to Harold's. Not that they don't love our hash browns and our chorizo hash and our wonderful and the biscuits and gravy and everything, but and people nowadays are looking for something more, so we're going to try to give them something more. But I think every generation kind of has that clause. Like when Matt took over, obviously a lot of this equipment is a little bit older. We need to, if we want to continue pushing out food the way we want to push out food, we need to update. And those are the things you have to recognize, and those are the things that I recognize, that obviously there's things we don't change, but we gotta keep up with today's times when it comes to the business side of things, and that's what we're doing.
Well, if you remember, Tom, I had to build the recipes. I had to actually talk to you and my mom, and write a recipe for chili or gravy.
Because nothing was written down.
They just
it was
did
all,
it. Yeah. They would go in, and it'd be like a song, and they're just whirling around, and voila, boom, Tom's beef tips over noodles is done, and I have no idea how that was just done. And they are delicious.
They are so good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it in my notes. I have it somewhere here, but you talked about that in your blogs. Like when you came back and said you kind of assumed leadership of the restaurant, you sat down with relatives, you picked their brains and put everything in a spreadsheet, and you were like, this has to be documented. We have to have this stuff down.
Yeah.
Because there is something beautiful about, being able to say, oh, this isn't written down. Like this is just what we love to do. This is what we do all the time. But things do change, and new people have to come in and assume leadership roles. And at some point, you have to be able to say, okay, our hash browns are amazing. This is why. We have to have that process and that documented, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get into some food here. You mentioned the hash browns are legendary. Yeah. Tell me why.
Just the tender love and care we put into them. I have yet to hear of another restaurant in the United States that puts the amount of care that we put into our hash browns.
United States, wow.
I have yet to find a restaurant that cooks off their potatoes, that peels them all by hand and still shreds them and still takes that time to make them amazing. I mean, I can't tell you how many breakfast places I've been to in Omaha, and not to say that their hash browns aren't good, but I can definitely tell they don't shred their own hash browns.
They're frozen typically, but
it's hard. It's hard work.
It's a lot of work, and we put in the work to make it perfect for sure. Another
item that's really comfort food is the mulligan stew.
The mulligan stew.
And it's beef and vegetable, and it's it's just comforting.
The mulligan stew, the navy bean soup is super good. Even the chili. I mean, all three of them. It doesn't matter how cold it is outside, how hot it is. We got people eating soup. They love the soup there.
The brown gravy. Cook our own roast.
Yes, we do.
Roast is a big part of your week. Got to cook the roast and not burn it.
And not burn it.
Sometimes that happens.
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes you forget it.
Obviously, the donuts. We fry off our own donuts every day. We've been doing donuts the same way since you opened, right?
Well, I think on our 60th anniversary, we tried to go back to 1958, which is at a different location, a little further north on 30th Street. But we tried to decipher how many donuts we made 7 days a week and how many donuts that was over 60 years.
Oh, wow.
And I can't remember. But we did do an average and then multiplied it, and it was unbelievable.
We tried to do eggs.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you can't touch the eggs. You can't. It's an infinite number.
Yeah, the eggs is an infinite number. There's so many eggs.
Yeah.
But That's nostalgic to me.
But I think that's what people love about your restaurant. I think, like, in an age where we see so many breakfast places, and I love places like this. Don't get me wrong. I love innovation on breakfast, but, we're seeing cinnamon roll pancakes and churro waffles and crab rangoon omelets and all this stuff. Like, sometimes it goes a little too far. I think the crab rangoon omelet probably is a great example of that. But you guys have stuck to the classics. I mean, like you said, you're going to run some specials, but I don't think we're ever going to see Harold's go to those viral social media things. What is the importance to you guys in sticking to those tried and true recipes and the things that people love?
I mean, that you exactly said it. People love it. There's no why change it, People come in here. We have a line out the door on the weekends. Why change anything about what we do? I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
If you can get people to crave an item, that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
That craving, like, oh gosh, I got it.
I go back to comfort food, especially at cold temperatures. Soups and hot beef sandwich and hot meatloaf sandwich. And my dad said. Another thing, he said, a good gravy covers a multitude of sins.
It's gravy.
Why are we not putting these on T-shirts? Tom, why have we not put this on T-shirts?
Tom, you've already had like 4 or 5 just mic drop Harold quotes so far. I feel like you got the document with all the recipes. You need a document with Harold quotes. Just one after the other.
Those are so great.
Yeah.
So how much have the recipes changed over the years? I mean, is it just like locked in, we're sticking with this, or okay, yes?
I say yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we do variety after that, like the ranchero is an afterthought, but boom, it hits. So something sticks. You experiment and something 100%. Sticks, but the gravy, mashed potatoes, all
I was chagrined at the loss of the bacon butter.
Oh, I love doing
bacon
that.
butter?
After the first of the year, I am bringing the bacon butter back.
That's a good thing to bring back.
I am bringing back the bacon
Okay, you don't just get to drop bacon butter and not tell me what. I mean, I have a pretty good idea in my brain, but tell me what.
We can't tell you everything,
No, but I mean, is it just bacon fat?
I got this good smoked pecan wood bacon in one time, and it is so delicious, and I just can't waste this grease.
Yeah.
It's so good. So I learned how to make whipped butter out of it.
Oh, my God.
And if you put that on a cinnamon roll or a pecan roll, I think it was like drop them.
You're hooked.
So
You're hooked.
Yeah.
And it comes served with a defibrillator?
I had that for about 6 months, but it became a pain, and I'm not sure how that goes. Lots of things come and go, don't they?
Another thing that you have to do every day, I mean, and pretty soon they stack up, and you say, gosh, I don't know if I can continue.
Tom used to make the most awesome liver and onions, if you're a liver and onion fan. And people still asked about it long after.
My dad said there's only 2 type of people in the world, those that like liver and onions and those that don't.
And I think the population's changed.
Yeah, they have. I mean, I can only think of one place that serves liver and onions anymore, and that's the Cabin. I mean, that's it. No, nobody, nowhere else that I've known.
I've never had it. I've never seen it on another menu. I have no idea if I like it or not.
That's good.
I don't know which type of person I would be to your dad. This worries me now. Now I have to have liver and onions somewhere so I know if I have Harold's approval.
I think Pauline was Harold's wife, his mom. She liked it.
She was pretty strong with it, And she had some input oftentimes about some things, too. She was a great lady.
And she was fast.
Yeah,
fast.
Oof. Okay, let's tease some taste buds here for the listeners with a couple other dishes that you guys want to highlight, whether it's a customer favorite or just a personal favorite, or this is... Maybe it's something that you don't even understand, a dish that you're just like, I don't know why people dig this so much, but we can't take it off the menu because everyone just orders it again and again. Give me 2 or 3 menu items.
Susie special, Matt.
Absolutely.
Susie special.
I wanted the story behind this.
When done right,
it's the best.
Can't beat it.
It's
okay, what is the Susie special?
So Susie special, hash browns, egg scrambled in it. We have grilled onions scrambled in that as well. And
grilled onions, very important. They have to be properly.
100%.
Yeah.
So grilled onions, hash browns, egg, add a meat to it, add cheese to it,
Oh, please.
add ranchero, add the Harold's salt to it. It doesn't get no better, man.
So you're basically just taking all the breakfast foods and just cramming them together, just mashing them into
Well,
one.
you have the base, which is the Susie special from his sister Susie, Aunt Sue.
Right.
And so I can't remember how it came about, but growing up, that's what we all ate. We pretty much started there. Start with Susie's special, and then, oh my gosh, hey, go get some gravy on it.
Yeah. Another thing that people can't get enough of is the 2 on top, which is our wonderful hash browns, our wonderful crumble sausage, our wonderful gravy, and 2 eggs on top. And it doesn't get no better than that.
That was mine. Seth and I, my cousin and I would eat that.
Well, you guys had a landfill too, didn't you?
And we did a landfill and we did a hog trough special.
A hog trough? Okay, well, you got to tell that story.
So we'd be back there cooking really busy on a Saturday, and you'd get a break, and lots of extra stuff is left over back there.
There can be mistakeages, and you set them aside, and then you move on.
And so the hog trough does have a rancher steak in it, unbeknownst to Mom and Aunt Judy or Tom. It would get snuck in there and then you cover it with eggs and gravy. You cover the sins with gravy.
Absolutely.
You cover the sins with gravy.
Exactly right.
You don't know what's in there, so yeah.
Okay, one more that I have to ask you guys about, and I know, it might not be like a signature dish at Harold's, but I'm a pancake fanatic, and when I came in and had the fluffy cakes, first of all, they're bigger than my face, which is always a good sign. It like when the plate gets set down in front of you and like you can't even see the plate, the pancakes are just eclipsing it. And those things were just so light and airy, and they had enough sweetness where I didn't even need syrup, but you pour syrup on there and it just like soaks it all up, so you're getting all that goodness. Tell me about the pancake. Like, don't give me any secrets, but what makes these pancakes so great?
I think what makes them special is how thick our batter is. I know a lot of places they have a batter, you put it down, that pancake immediately spreads out. When I throw that batter down, it's going to take that pancake almost 5 minutes to spread all the way out, and then it's going to start fluffing up.
And bubble. Yeah.
And that's what makes our pancakes so amazing.
Airy batter.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. We typically make it every morning.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference. But another important thing about pancakes is butter and a good syrup. It really does make a difference. Of course, I've seen people put ketchup on pancakes.
Oh, no. No.
I've seen that.
Those people should just be kicked out of the diner.
The bowl of gravy guy. I just remembered
the bowl of gravy guy.
There was a guy who would come in the middle of the summer. He would wear a trench coat, and then he would eat 2 bowls of gravy and then leave.
And he'd stare at me.
Soup?
Yeah, swear to God.
He would stare at me through the window,
it's just
eating it all
gravy.
psycho. Oh my gosh, just crush it. Paid for his food and left.
Yep, but just 2 bowls of gravy.
Boom.
Like once a year.
All right. Good for that guy's heart.
And at one point, we had a young man come in, just asked for a cup of hot water. Then he put ketchup in the hot water, drank it, and left.
You see a lot of things.
I was going to say, I'm sure you guys have seen some things over the years, clearly. So let's get into that history a little bit more. Like, how did Harold's come to be originally? Give me the history of this place.
After the Second World War, my dad worked for Harkert's Hamburger House. This is back in the 40s. And Harkert would only hire men because there were so many men unemployed after the war. And so they were waitresses and cooks and, the whole thing. And my dad met 2 other gentlemen that were, working at Harkert's, and they liked people and they liked creating things, so to speak. So they went together in a partnership, and at one time they had 4 locations in Omaha. It was called the Koffee House with a K. And coffee with a K is a little bit European, actually. But it was a kind of a niche, kind of something different. And they operated for 10 or 12 years together pretty well.
Wasn't that like a hamburger stand where you go in, eat your food?
Harkert's was a 10-stool joint with soups and hamburgers. Well, anyway, they got the fever, so to speak, and And they operated for 10 or 12 years, I can recall, a number of locations. And then the one gentleman got out, and my dad and Vince Miller operated for another 10 years together. And then they both amiably split. They were very good friends. And so Dad got the coffee house we're at 8327 now. It was 2 blocks north on the same side of the street in Florence. And we leased that building, I don't know, like I say, I got out of the Army in 69, and they had moved up to the new building where it's at now. And so, what was the question? I'm sorry.
You're doing a great job. I just asked, what's the history? How did this place come to be?
Yeah.
So you're telling the story very well.
All right. And then, it was, like Matt said, if you were a member of our family, you were an indentured servant. You're going to work there otherwise. But like I said, we've been so blessed with good people that come in and stay, or we've had several leave and come back. And so it's
tell them why you had to move from that location to the present one then, because it's a good story.
What was it? No. Oh yeah, there was also a fire, but many restaurants, and that's why it's so difficult to insure a restaurant, and you have to have this fire suppression and all, is because and insurance companies will check your how you're doing proceedings as far as financials, and there are such things as convenient restaurant fires, which. And I don't want to disparage anyone, but so we had the opportunity to move to the other location in '68, I believe it was.
Wasn't John involved with that fire though? He was young.
Yeah, that's true. It was a donut fryer.
The donut fryer.
And it flared. Well.
How old was John?
Probably 18.
18.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a kitchen fire is pretty ugly. And of course, back then in late 50s, there was no fire suppression or anything. But we didn't lose the building, just that area again, not unlike this. But and then.
Is the fire the reason why Grandpa hopped to that corner then?
Well, the main reason is because the building we were in at that location was about 75 years old, and the floors sloped, and the exhaust system was very poor, and a variety of things. But it was a great move. It's a wonderful location right on that corner, and it's kind of an anchor for Florence, I think, in a sense. Mm-hmm. But we've been blessed. We've just had great people to work with us and for us, and.
So Grandpa also had 24-hour.
Thank you. That's true. We had
Broken Bow.
We had 2 truck stops actually in the '60s. One in North Platte, Nebraska. That was a 24-hour day operation, and Broken Bow, Nebraska. That was a 24-hour truck stops. They were both truck stop type situations, and but Broken Bow and North Platte are hundreds of miles from Omaha. Mm-hmm. And I worked in North Platte and Broken Bow in my high school days, and I would have loved to stay at North Platte. It was such a wonderful town. But then I went in the Army, and so he had an opportunity. Harold had an opportunity to move to the State Street location, which was a brand new building, and so it's gone on from there.
So that big orange food sign came from one of those truck stops.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the one that's up in front of her. Food.
I did not know that. I thought he just got it. I did not know they came from the truck stop.
That's what truckers want to see off the interstate.
They just want to see food.
Food.
That's what I want to see.
Feed me.
Food.
So I want to talk about family a little bit more, because I found a video it was a Facebook video from 2012 where Nancy said that's the best part about Harold's. They, meaning family members, just can't leave it. They're always coming back for more. They love to help, and they love the customers.
It's true.
And then you, Matt, gave a quote to a local news station where you said, the cafe is the glue that holds the family together. What does having like that tight-knit family where everybody knows one another, you're basically like living together, what does that do to create a vibe in a restaurant, and how do customers feel that?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, gosh, Tom, we'd be back there laughing. Well, not all the time, but they can see us laughing and popping off through the window at Harold's and the servers. And once you start that, a chain reaction happens, and the customers have no choice but to be happy and eat good food. And so that's how I always saw it happening. Just a culture.
Well, it's so good for young people to learn how to work. Like I say, and so it is effective, and then you're all working together, and as you eclipse through like Matt said, from the dishwasher to the cutting,
prep to
bakery
to the wine,
or whatever,
to the baker, yeah.
And so it's kind of glue, but it has, in the Halstead family, the Bohnenkamps, everybody wanted it to work, But it's so good for young people to... restaurant work is not easy because you have people coming in, you don't know what they just went through. Their wife and they don't speak a word to each other while they're there, sometimes. But you get to know them, and if you're into relationship, and you do have to be kind of wanting to know what their life's about, and that's what, like waitresses, they get to know these folks, and they're like, the waitress is like a member of their family almost, and they know the family, and or even single people, guys that are a smile, it can make a big difference to you when you're on your way to work and it's cold and windy, and the lady, they treat you well and smile at you. It's a relationship situation, really.
Well, and also, growing up, Grandpa would have, he'd go on a fishing trip, and he'd come back and have a big fish fry. And the whole family, 60, 70 of us, after hours at the coffee house.
Oh, my gosh.
And we did fish fries the whole time. Once or twice a year, just like that. The whole family just coming in. It was really great.
We'd have Thanksgiving there sometimes, or, where everybody could fit in, But it's chemistry to some degree. And...
a lot of prayer and a lot of prayer.
And thank you very much. A lot of prayer. Yeah. We are unabashedly Christian, and it's served us
well. There are guardian angels watching over that place.
Yeah.
They're still there, Matt. You saw it.
That they are. No, after that situation we had right before Thanksgiving, I can definitely say there's some guardian angels at that. I think it's Harold, honestly.
Very possible.
Because something fell off a shelf and hit me in the head, too, so I think that was also him.
Wait, what happened before Thanksgiving?
So the day before Thanksgiving, we actually had a small fire in the kitchen, and we're very lucky that 99% of the equipment is fine. Nobody got hurt. The building's fine. But unfortunately, that thing that had a fire in it is one of those original pieces of equipment that Harold loved. And we were very scared and under the impression that we had to do, a very big update to our building. And it was very stressful, and we thought, oh my gosh, we're going to have to be closed a couple months, and I want to be able to get
probably code, right?
Yep. And so, we were under the impression, we're going to have to bring all this up to code and get a city inspector in here. And, and after all said and done, they said, you know what, this is still good. You just have to fix it a little bit and get up and going. And that's what we did. We opened Friday, and I hope we don't ever have to close again for 2 weeks. I couldn't stand it.
Can't tell you how many catastrophes we've.
It's true.
It's only been broken into once, and Tom might tell it best, but all they got was.
Well, it was during Pioneer Days, probably maybe 1980, 82. pioneer days, they used to shut off the street in Florence, and it was a big deal, and a lot of debauchery and so forth. But some gentleman decided in the middle of the night to throw a concrete block through the bottom of the glass door on the west side. And then he came in that way and went around to the kitchen, to the freezers, and captured what he expected to be 2 cases, cardboard cases of steaks. But going out the door, he didn't bend over low enough, and he cut his back open on the jagged glass. And he made it across the street to the Mormon Park and got up on a picnic table and laid down. But he had fallen crossing the street a couple times, and people reported him. And the police officers picked him up there at Mormon Park on a picnic table, and he had 2 boxes of liver.
And we've left that door open a lot of times. The front door,
oh my gosh,
back door,
yeah, all of them.
And you have a heart attack at 3 in the morning going, I didn't lock the door.
I have driven back to that restaurant at 9 o'clock at night so many times. So many times.
Or I've left the roast in overnight and you wake up at 3 in the morning and go,
the roast.
It's still going. And you expect to drive there.
That was me with the tray of bacon on top of the oven. Not the bacon. 3 o'clock in the morning, thought about bacon. Yep.
Boom.
Well, and a couple of years ago, didn't you guys had like a car drive through a window or something? And not only did not anyone get hurt, but like the diners are like coming to help the people get out of the car. Like, yeah, you guys have dodged all kinds of bullets.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean all those hills in Florence that go west are steep, man.
Absolutely.
And if there's any ice like we had Friday or any kind of snow on the ground, there is no stopping going down that hill. 100%. And if you are going fast enough down State Street, you're gonna hit
Everybody's
something.
watching State Street on a snowy day. Everybody's just
if it's a snowy day or a rainy day at the coffee house, you look, most people are watching State Street to see who's sliding down the hill.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So I want to get into your story a little bit more, Matt, because you basically said, I'm done with the restaurant industry. I'm done with Omaha. You went to college. You had a job. You were very happy, but you were having weekly calls with your mom, and that's what eventually pulled you back in. Tell me, how did you end up back at Harold's, not only working there, but taking really the management side of things over?
Yeah, well, I had a son also, and how much fun was it to come back and see all of our cousins once again? We're just real close. And then we'd have to drive back to Grand Island. And so my wife and I had discussed it and probably needed a change and stuff in our marriage and everything. And happened to call my mom, and she said, well, Matt, Tom wants to retire.
So he calls me one morning, and he says, Uncle Tom, have you ever thought about retiring? And I was quiet for just a moment. I said, well, at 4:30 a.m. when the alarm goes off, I think about it every morning. So, anyway.
Actually, I thought that you and Aunt Carol had just been praying about what will happen. How can I retire?
True. I thought the only way I'd get out of there is to be carried out, actually. I did. Because it's just the way a restaurant is. And so this man had good legs and good shoes. But
Is that all it takes? Good legs and good shoes?
It's honestly not much more than that.
If Tom retired, it would fall upon my mom. I didn't want to see that happen, and I didn't want to see the restaurant just go away.
Right.
That was the impetus for the call. Let's just open this door and see what happens.
Yeah.
And when he told me, well, geesh, we had just been praying about that. Now what do? I got to
cut bait.
I think God's trying to tell me something here. So
it was wonderful. It really was. I mean, because I knew we were passing it on to, good people, and he did have a heart for it. He's a manager. He's a very good and an innovator. Saying, I was just stuck. All I know how to do is make meatloaf and cut chicken fry.
It's good meatloaf, though.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, that's an old Army recipe.
I was fascinated to come back, though, having grown up in it, but not knowing how to own the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And all the pieces that he and my mom had been dealing with ever since that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, there's so many moving parts in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Sheesh. can be overwhelming.
The plumbing.
It's plumbing. You have to learn how to train people. You have to learn how to hire people.
Yeah.
You have to know how much soap to order for the bathroom. You have to know every recipe and write them down. I mean, you have to. Well, maybe you don't have to remember to lock the doors. You can just leave those open, I guess. But But I mean, those are the things that people don't think about in restaurant life. They just think about, oh yeah, you're a chef. You just make food. You go serve it. You make people happy. But there are so many other things behind the scenes.
Tom knew the price per pound of hamburger bacon all the time, and the guy would come in and you have to buy more, and he'd say, that's too high. I got to learn all this stuff. Oh, wow, crash course.
And then just insurance can be, mystifying. And
taxes. Yeah, there's just a lot of so it's fun when you do make good food. You experiment, you get something, and it works. So that's what keeps you coming back and having a good conversation.
I think just wanting to see the smile on everybody's face when they take that first bite of hash browns or that first bite of chorizo hash or something like that. That's why I do it. That's why I come back to Harold's every day to see those smiling faces for sure.
Yeah, I miss them people. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Like since we moved to the new location in '68, there's been so many of our old good friends that have died on us, But that's part of life, Dying is a part of living. But gosh, if we could get a lot of those old guys. In fact, I'd love to get just the people that have worked for us, over 60 years. Get them in one room. It would be so much fun.
Oh my gosh, the stories.
It would be so much fun.
Well, you've got one of them right here, and obviously there was something that you saw that was special in him because you wanted to bring him back and have him take over. Matt, as you have assumed this general manager role, A, when did you take over as general manager? And B, what are your kind of goals as the restaurant moves into the future?
So I took over as general manager just a little over 2 months ago, and it kind of felt like, I don't want to say they've been priming me for this, but it seems like they've been pushing me to be a better person for something. And maybe it was this. Maybe they were pushing me for this. And I look at this place and I want it to be the standard and what you think, what breakfast is, what a diner is. When you think of breakfast in Omaha, I want you to think of Harold's first. That is my goal, my tenure here. Whatever that entails, we'll see when we get there. But as far as what my goal is here, I want my generation, the millennials, the Gen Zers, the people coming up. I want them to be the next generation to become obsessed with Harold's, and let's do this another 70 years. You know what I mean? And I think it's very possible with the wonderful food that we have. And I think, just because we have the wonderful food, that doesn't, that's not what makes Harold's either. It's our wonderful staff.
Truly.
If it wasn't for our staff, we wouldn't be Harold's 100%. I mean, because of Pam, because of Shaylee, because of Heather, because of my cooks in the back, Zach and my two new guys,
even happy dishwashers,
and Randy and Evan and these Dallas, all these wonderful employees that we have. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be Harold's.
Yeah.
So, what is that feeling like for you to take over? Because this is something obviously that you this restaurant you love, this history you love, and I'm sure it's like exciting for you to be like, now I get to help with this.
Oh my gosh, definitely. It's daunting. It's definitely daunting because I have to work, I have to bring myself to the standard of the people before me who I look up to so much. I mean, Matt was my mentor. I mean, for 5 or 6 years there, I came to him when I had a problem and he gave me some advice that really pushed me along my way. And gosh, do I appreciate it. And so it's living up to the name of these guys while also, trying to find our way and make a name for ourselves with the newer generation. And I think we're in a prime spot to do that right now.
Matt's good foodie. He's a good foodie. He likes good food, and that's the fun part of it.
So. It sure is.
I just love creating great things for people to enjoy. That's my passion. I mean, whether it's cooking, whether it's anything, I just love doing that for people.
I think it is important, and he's got the understanding. Like my dad said, people will work with you better than they'll work for you. And if you're back in the kitchen in the heat and the anxiety and the urgency, you're carrying the load, and they say, hey, this guy's, he's not just pointing and
Oh yeah, I work directly with all of my staff. It's not. I don't see myself.
wash dishes if you have to wash dishes.
I don't see myself as a manager more as I do as just a support system for the staff to be the best they can be.
Bingo.
100%.
So, like you mentioned, connecting with that next generation and making sure the millennials and the Gen Zs and the generations moving forward, they still appreciate Harold's. I mean, yes, you love the regulars, the people who are coming in now, but you also have to make sure that you're getting that new crowd as well.
Well, and I think, and I hate to say this, but I think brunch kind of ruined everybody's idea of what a good breakfast is. I think everybody has this idea of that it is like churro pancakes and stuff like that. And I think we just need to show them that like bacon, eggs, a good set of hash browns, and a well toasted piece of toast is all you need for a good breakfast. And I think slowly everybody's coming to realize that I don't need
good coffee, Matt.
And oh my God, the best coffee in Omaha.
I forgot about
best
it.
coffee in Omaha. We've had the same coffee recipe forever, right? Has it changed?
Best we can.
It's pretty much. Things really changed when we started grinding our own beans instead of ordering coffee that's already ground. Mm-hmm. Because when you grind that bean, bam, now you got that's called a fresh cup of coffee. See?
And I mean, just every aspect of Harold's. It doesn't matter what you want. If you want a malt, we're going to make you a malt just like we've been making malts since the 50s. If you want a cup of coffee, we're going to make you the same great cup of coffee you would have got in the 50s. And like I said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it's amazing, let's just keep on doing what we do, and people will recognize, and I think people have.
Interesting point. Used to be coffee was 10 cents a cup. I mean, going back several weeks, right?
Several weeks.
And there was this table where my dad sat, and, of course, all of his old cronies, and they'd sit around there, and it was called Sitting Bull table, But eventually, once again, this is a long time ago, he put up a little sign that said, coffee's 10 cents a cup, not 10 cents a day.
That's good. But I love what you said there, Matt, because, there are some restaurants some of the newer places that do cook everything really well.
They're doing great. They're doing great.
But there are a lot of those places that they can put amazing Instagram pictures of a breakfast burrito or some crazy Fruity Pebbles pancakes or whatever, but they can't cook an egg.
Nope, not at all.
I would rather just have a couple beautifully cooked Sunnyside eggs and some really crispy bacon than a half-assed,
100%
breakfast burrito or whatever.
Yes.
So I think that there is real value, and I think, I'm someone who, I guess I'm a millennial, so I kind of count. I'm getting old, but whatever. I came into Harold's for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, where has this been? And now I'm thoroughly in that camp where I'm just like, this is one of my places now.
Yeah. No, we appreciate. Did you come back in the kitchen and say, well done? Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was you.
I always try and do that. If I get served a great meal, I think the people back in the kitchen deserve to know. And I try not to interrupt them when they're on the line.
Yeah.
But I want to be like, hey, you guys are back here slaving, cutting all my potatoes and everything. Like, I want to say thank you and let you know that you're doing great work. Because I know it's a thankless job for the most part.
It can be.
I will say we're lucky to be in a community where we do get a lot of praise and a lot of thanks. Same thing, if it wasn't for the wonderful community surrounding us, who knows if we had been here 70 years or not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. To top off your delicious meal, you might be walking out and you're going to see a familiar face. Inevitably, if you come in enough, you're going to meet a friend there or make a new friend.
Yeah, people love to talk there. If you're having a bad day, someone's going to come up and make sure you're not having a bad day. That's how that community is.
It's pretty social in there.
It is.
Community bulletin board.
Oh, my God.
Florence.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, we're getting up against the clock here, but before we get out of here, I would love each of you guys to hit me with your favorite Harold's memory. Whether that's just a real... Yeah, I know there's a ton going through your head right now, but whether it's a moment of significance for the restaurant or a funny moment or just something where you were just like, man, this place is special. Hit me with... I guess it doesn't have to be your favorite because
wow,
that's a big Rolodex of memories to run through off the top of your head, but a memory that sticks out and just pops to the front of your brain right now.
You mean a good memory?
I'll
It
hit you
can
with
be
one.
bad if you wanted to. I was trending in the good direction, but you can take that wherever you want.
This would be the first time one of our regulars, Lonnie, I think he's a pastor of a church or something.
True.
I don't know. It was the first time he broke into song,
Yeah.
Sorry.
and he was singing a wonderful. I can't
No,
even.
he asked
How great
permission.
thou art, maybe.
He asked permission first. He came to the window and said, "Would it be okay?" He says, "I just enjoy this place. Would it be okay if I sang something?" I said, "Well, I think so. I don't know. What are you going to sing?" And he sang the old Rugged Cross.
That's what it was.
And he went up to the register. There's about 15 people in there. And he just belted it out. And they applauded him.
Oh.
It was pretty special. And then he would do that oftentimes afterwards.
Yeah.
But one of the unique characters that used to come in quite often was the Broom Man. I don't know if you remember.
The Broom Man.
The Broom Man.
I don't remember. That must have been before my time.
Blind guy.
Yeah, he was a blind
Remarkable.
pastor, black gentleman. He always wore a big coat, and he had a cane, and he would sing occasionally too. The Broom Man. He was known throughout Omaha. I think we lost him here about late '80s. I think it was, but he's been in the World Herald, and a lot of people. You'd see him. He had brooms. He sold brooms,
Would walk unassisted
unassisted,
up and down 30th Street.
right, and
selling
sell brooms.
Wow.
Yeah, you can find that in the archives of World Herald.
Wow.
2 or 3 times they showed him as an interesting individual.
You want to go? Do you have yours?
Well, I would say fascinating when Warren Buffett and Bill Gates came in and I got to cook for them.
Also,
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Also-
cool.
So, yeah, they're doing that Netflix documentary. I had to cook probably 9 to 10 renditions because they liked medium rare hamburgers, and then they wouldn't show up. They wouldn't show up, so
they're-
those are them. So cook some more, be ready for when they show up. So that was kind of a cool time.
Mine is really recent, actually. It was just a couple months ago. Going back to Pam, love Pam. Pam kind of gets going and she forgets things, and so Pam was working at the cash register and was doing something, and then all of a sudden, we can't find the key to the cash register. And Pam went through her whole car.
poor
Pam went through her whole purse, the entire restaurant, and I cannot find this key, cannot find it. We're all losing our minds. We got to open the register to get money out of the register. We cannot find this key. It was hanging on her necklace the whole time, and she fell down. She was laughing so hard. It was one of the moments. I don't think I'll ever forget that.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing those, guys. I'm sure we could have a 2-hour-long podcast just with that one question alone, because there are so many stories that have existed in Herald's and many, many more that will continue into the future. Listeners, I mean, this is my chance to just plug this place. I literally can't wait to go back. Our meal was fantastic the first time, and even before we got any food, you walk in, you feel like you're in the 60s, because it's just like it transports you back. There's a sense of community. Everyone, I'm sure not everyone is happy all the time, but it kind of just seems that way. It's one of those places. Go check out Harold's. It doesn't matter if you've been a regular for 50 years or if you're somebody who hasn't been there. Check it out. I do think you're going to think, even if you can't get cinnamon roll pancakes, you're going to get a really damn good breakfast.
You're going to get a really good breakfast.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today
thanks for having us.
for sharing so many memories. This has been an absolute blast.
This guy has a great radio voice. You know that? He does.
He should replace me.
No, I don't know
I
about
didn't
that.
Take my job. Got a better voice than mine.
Eh.
All right, Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.
Thank you.